World. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Israeli fighter jets pounds Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon late on Thursday, even as Hezbollah leader says exploding device attacks crossed all red lines. US, UK urge restraint. US stock surges to record high close on euphoria over Fed rate cut. President Biden says lower borrowing cost will support economic growth, stresses there's more work to be done. European Union pledges billions in swift aid for flood-stricken areas of Central Europe, even as north of Italy is hit by the tail end of Storm Boris. And Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to attend National PM Vishwakarma program in Wardha in Maharashtra to also lay the foundation stone of PM Mitra Park in Amravati. Well, on to the details now. Israel has intensified attacks on southern Lebanon, launching dozens of air raids amid fears of a wider escalation in the region. The Israeli army said airstrikes hit hundreds of rocket launcher barrels ready to be fired towards Israel, as well as approximately 100 launchers and additional terrorist infrastructure sites. In a statement, the army also added that the Israel Defense Forces will continue to operate to degrade the Hezbollah terrorist organization's infrastructure and capabilities in order to defend the state of Israel. Well, the intensified attacks come as Hezbollah chief on Thursday said that exploding device attacks across Lebanon crossed all red lines. In a televised address after 2 days of attacks targeting communication devices, Hassan Nasrallah pledged to keep up their fight against Israel until its nearly 12-month conflict on the Gaza Strip ends. The Lebanese group's leader reiterated the only path to bring calm to the region is for Israel to also halt its assaults on the occupied West Bank. Thousands of people have been injured and 37 killed, including children, in communications attack. And United States and United Kingdom expressed deep concern over rising tensions and civilian casualties in Lebanon and called for restraint after thousands of Hezbollah communication devices exploded. Amid the calls for restraint, Israeli warplanes carried out their most intense strikes on South Lebanon in nearly a year of war late on Thursday, Lebanese security sources said. The White House spokesperson Karine Jean-Pierre in a briefing said a diplomatic solution was achievable and urgent, while British Foreign Secretary David Lammy called for an immediate ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah.
We are concerned about the tension and afraid and concerned about potential escalation. We have said that in the Middle East. We've been very clear. And we've also said that the way to move forward is diplomatic resolution. We think it is achievable. Obviously, it is urgent. And so that's what we're going to continue to do, having those diplomatic conversations. Diplomacy is key here when we talk about potential escalation, which we do not want to see. We do not want to see. And so we're going to continue to work towards that.
And shifting focus to Russia-Ukraine conflict now, the European Parliament has passed a non-binding resolution urging EU member states to allow Ukraine to use Western-supplied weapons to strike military targets inside Russia. The resolution, adopted with 425 votes in favor, calls for lifting restrictions, arguing that current limits leave Ukraine vulnerable to Russian attacks. Kyiv has long sought permission to target Russian air bases involved in bombarding Ukraine. Moscow swiftly condemned the vote, with Duma Speaker Vyacheslav Volodin warning it could escalate into nuclear war, threatening swift missile strikes on European cities like Strasbourg. Ukraine, however, hailed the resolution as a bold step, with Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiga praising Europe's decisiveness and leadership in supporting Ukraine's self-defense against Russia's relentless assault. And in a stark warning, outgoing NATO chief Jens Stoltenberg declared that current military spending targets are insufficient to protect the alliance as it braces for an increasingly assertive Russia. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg, who has led NATO since 2014, emphasized NATO's unwavering support for Ukraine as vital to ending Russia's ongoing war. He urged NATO members to boost defense spending in light of the growing threat from Moscow.
First, we have to be willing to pay the price for peace. The more money, the stronger our defenses, the more effective our deterrence, the greater our security. The good news is that we have delivered on the pledge we made 10 years ago. But the bad news is that this is not longer enough.
While speaking just weeks before the U.S. presidential election, where Donald Trump will face Kamala Harris, stressed the critical importance of the transatlantic alliance during this pivotal time. As his tenure comes to an end, he'll pass the leadership baton to Dutch former Prime Minister Mark Rutte on October 1st.
We must never take the bond between Europe and North America for granted. NATO is not written in stone. It is a result of deliberate choices and political will. We have heard voices on both sides of the Atlantic calling for America and Europe to part ways. Focusing on short-sighted national interests over longer-term cooperation will not serve us well. Isolationism will not keep anyone safe. We live in an interconnected world. Security challenges are too big and competition is too fierce for any country to go it alone. Investing in the transatlantic relationship is the only winning way forward.
Well, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov vowed that Moscow will defend its Arctic interest both diplomatically and militarily. Lavrov condemned increasing U.S. and NATO military exercises in the Arctic, warning that Russia is prepared to respond with military and technical measures. His comments come as tensions rise following a new Pentagon strategy on the Arctic released in July, which highlighted Russia's expanded activities in the region. The U.S. report noted Russia's reopening of hundreds of Soviet-era military bases and growing cooperation with China on Arctic minerals and shipping routes. Lavrov's remarks underscore Moscow's resolve to counter what it sees as a Western push to dominate the strategically crucial Arctic region. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced a significant blow to Russian forces, revealing that Ukrainian troops have weakened Russia's ability to launch offensives in the contested Donetsk region. In his likely address, Zelensky credited Ukraine's recent incursion into Russia's southern Kursk region, launched last month, for forcing Moscow to redirect 40,000 soldiers to the area. This strategic move has relieved pressure on the Eastern Front, where the war has raged for over 2.5 years. Zelensky emphasized that this shift marks a key development in Ukraine's ongoing efforts to repel Russian attacks, signaling a crucial advantage in the conflict.
The Ukrainian Defense Forces managed to diminish the occupiers' assault potential in Donetsk region. The situation remains critically difficult. Tough battles every day. Kurahovo direction, Pokrok's, but we do our utmost for the resilience for our battle brigades.
And former U.S. President and Republican candidate for presidential election Donald Trump, during his campaign meeting on Thursday, tried to woo Jewish voters. He said that there will be no existence of Israel if he did not win the upcoming presidential race. Trump was speaking in Washington, D.C. in a Jewish gathering themed as fighting anti-Semitism in America, giving present reference to ongoing war between Israel and Hamas and tension in Middle East. He said that to save Israel, it was essential that he should come again to the White House as the president.
But if we don't win this election, Israel, in my opinion, within a period of 2 to 3 years, will cease to exist. It's going to be wiped out. That's what's going to happen. It's a tough thing to say, but what difference does it make from my standpoint? I have to tell you the truth. If I do win, Israel will be safe and secure, and we will stop the toxic poison of anti-Semitism from spreading all over America and all over the world. We'll get it stopped. But if I don't win, I believe Israel will be eradicated.
Meanwhile, as the campaign for presidential elections in U.S. is getting intensified with every passing day, black communities are also coming up to activate their members to register for votes. However, they are not campaigning for any party and trying to keep a neutral face. Voting rights organization Black Voters Matter has started an innovative approach to aware their communities to register for votes. They began We Fight Back tour for 6 days across Georgia on Thursday with a stop at Cross Keys High School in Atlanta and other places. Their goal is not only to encourage black voters to register, but also motivate them to go to polling booths and vote. The voter registration deadline in Georgia is October 7 voter registration deadline. The group claims that their initiative is non-partisan.
And we want to be able to raise those issues with them and connect that back to the ballot. Who pulls the lever of power? Not just at the top of the ticket, but at the bottom of the ticket in your local elections.
Georgia is so incredibly important in this election. We actually have over 100,000 registered voters that do not vote from the black community. So we're really trying to go about these stops and making sure that everyone knows that their voice really matters.
And a county sheriff was arrested on Thursday after he allegedly shot and killed a district court judge in the southern U.S. state of Kentucky. Letcher County Sheriff Mickey Steins was taken into custody in connection with a shooting at the Letcher County Courthouse. Gun violence is common in the United States, a country where there are more firearms than people. Early this month, a man shot and injured 5 people on a Kentucky highway. The gunman's body was found on Wednesday after a 10-day manhunt. And some weather updates now. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has pledged billions of euros in aid for Central European countries suffering from enormous damage during the massive flooding that has claimed 24 lives so far. Von der Leyen met with heads of the government of Poland, Austria and Czech Republic and Slovakia. She said funds for repairs will be quickly available from the European Union Solidarity Fund, as well as 10 billion euros from the Cohesion Fund for the most urgent repairs. Stressing on the swift action in the crisis, she added no contribution from individual bloc countries would be required for the money to be released.
Normally, Cohesion Fund goes with co-financing from the member states. Here we say it's 100% European money, no co-financing. These are extraordinary times, and extraordinary times need extraordinary measures. At first sight, 10 billion euros are possible to mobilize from the cohesion funds for the countries that are affected. This is an emergency reaction now. Thank you very much again for the fast convening of this group. And of course, we stand by your side also in the months and years to come when it is about recovery and repair from the disaster.
And in central Italy, the residents of flood-hit town of Prasar di Bagnacavallo were in shock on Thursday after a storm system that has wreaked havoc across Central Europe brought devastating floods to the northern Italian region of Emilia-Romagna for the second year in a row. Floods and mudslides were also affecting the neighboring regions of Tuscany and Marche. The authorities said that it carried out more than 500 rescue operations in the region, including with the use of helicopters. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 3-day visit to the United States of America from September 21st to 23rd. Junior doctors in West Bengal to partially withdraw their strike and resume essential services. And the winning streak of the Indian team continues at the 45th Chess Olympiad with the 8th consecutive victory. The men's team remains at the top. The women's team lost to Poland.
We are looking at new and emerging dimensions in India's most important strategic partnership with the United States.
From Washington's standpoint, India, I would say, is a rising part of our economic portfolio looking globally. It's now one of our 10 largest trading partners. And again, if any company has got offshore R&D and IT, it's probably coming first to places like Bangalore and Hyderabad. What we've seen just in the last couple of years is a shift away from transfer of technology, of selling things to India, and of exercises, which are all great and they're fundamental, but we are now moving actively into interoperability.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a 3-day visit to the United States of America from September 21st to 23rd. During the visit, he would join world leaders at the upcoming Quad Summit, which is expected to address pressing global issues, including the situation in Ukraine. The Prime Minister will also participate in the UN Summit for the Future at the UN headquarters in New York. He would also address a gathering of the Indian diaspora in New York. DD India's Amritpal Singh and Shubhendu Ghosh report for more from New York.
The visit kicks off with the highly anticipated Quad Summit in Delaware, followed by a series of important engagements in the New York City, including addressing the Summit for the Future, meetings with global CEOs, diaspora events, and bilateral discussions with world leaders.
The Prime Minister will be visiting the US from the 21st to the 23rd of September. This visit combines many aspects. It has a very important bilateral aspect to it, a very important plurilateral aspect to it, and an equally important multilateral aspect to it. There will be interaction with a variety of foreign partners at the level of the Prime Minister. There will be interaction with the large Indian diaspora in the US, and there will be engagement with a host of business and industry leaders, amongst others.
The visit begins with the Quad Summit, a critical platform for cooperation between 4 member countries: India, the United States, Japan, and Australia. The summit will focus on regional security, Indo-Pacific strategy, and evolving dynamics of global diplomacy. The summit will explore avenues for enhanced collaboration in areas like technology, infrastructure, and climate change. On the sidelines of the summit, Prime Minister Modi will also hold bilateral meetings with Australian and Japanese Prime Minister and the US President Joe Biden.
There will be an opportunity for both sides to exchange a few agreements. Two that I would highlight are the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework related agreements and an India-US drug framework related MOU.
On Monday, the Prime Minister will participate in the UN Summit for the Future, where he is expected to speak about pressing global challenges of the future, including sustainable development, digital transformation, and global governance.
When Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses the Summit of the Future here in New York, focus would be on India's vision of a sustainable tomorrow, keeping in mind the priorities of the Global South.
The Prime Minister will also address the Indian American community at a diaspora event at the Long Island. The event is expected to reinforce strong connection between India and its diaspora, which plays a vital role in fostering India-US relations. The Prime Minister will also meet with American business leaders in New York. This would be an important opportunity to strengthen economic ties and attract investments in key sectors like technology, energy, and manufacturing. Following the meeting, Prime Minister Modi will also engage with global leaders in bilateral discussions. The highlight of the visit would be his participation in the Quad Summit, as it comes at a time when regional powers are navigating a complex web of alliances and adversarial relations in the Indo-Pacific. While the security of the Indo-Pacific will figure prominently in the talks between the leaders, from an Indian standpoint, the developmental needs and goals of the countries of the region would be of paramount importance. With cameraman Sumit Naudyal and my colleague Shobhendu Ghosh, this is Amritpal Singh for DD India in New York.
And for more on this, we have Shobhendu Ghosh joining us from there. Well, Shobhendu, PM is visiting US to attend the 4th Quad Leaders Summit, during which Quad leaders are to review the progress and to set, most importantly, the future agenda. The next Quad Summit also will be hosted by India. What all can transpire?
Well, good morning to you and all the viewers. Lipakshi, we're coming to you from the bustling Times Square in New York, where, as you mentioned, Quad, it is going to be a hugely significant visit by India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. We've seen in the past year the manner in which the Quad grouping has successfully expanded its cooperation from the traditional security infrastructure to a more comprehensive, holistic 360-degree development partnership. And we see that is going to gain further momentum in this 6th edition of the engagement of the leaders. It's the 4th meeting in person, 6th meeting in all as far as Quad is concerned. And the reflection on the working groups, the leaders' working groups, list the priorities of the Quad meeting. There is going to be focus on the health infrastructure. We know that this health section had come up during the vaccine emergency of the pandemic that further evolved into health cooperation. This edition, it is expected that there would be some breakthrough agreements and announcement as far as cancer research is concerned. Then there are other areas of priority for the Quad leadership. There is going to be climate change and mitigation. There is also infrastructure needs of the entire region of Indo-Pacific. Just for an example, Indo-Pacific region, an assessment says, requires about $1.7 trillion per year to meet its infrastructure development need, whereas it is only able to manage $800 billion per year overall for its infrastructure requirements. And even in that, if you remove China, then the number comes down to only $127 billion. So there is a great financial gap as well as far as development of the Indo-Pacific regions, the poorer countries in particular, is required. So those priorities are going to be riding high as far as the Quad meeting is concerned. Lipakshi, along with that, greater focus is also on new and emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence to create a framework wherein such a technology, such a cutting-edge technology can be a force of greater good. Lipakshi? All
right, a lot is planned for the upcoming days. Thank you so much, Shobhendu. We'll keep taking more updates from you from there. And moving on, latest update in the Kolkata rape and murder case. Junior doctors in West Bengal on Thursday evening decided to partially withdraw their strike and resume essential services. The prolonged 42-day strike had significantly impacted the healthcare sector. The decision came hours after Chief Secretary Manoj Pant issued a set of 10 directives to ensure the safety, security and efficient functioning of the state healthcare system. Earlier on Thursday, the West Bengal Medical Council has cancelled the registration of former principal of RG Kar Sandeep Ghosh. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court likely to hear the matter on the 27th of September. And on to business news now. Meanwhile, the U.S. stock surged to a record high close on Thursday, buoyed by Fed's decisions. The Dow Jones and the S&P 500 both closed at record high. The Fed cut rates by 50 basis points, the upper end of market expectations, and kicked off an easing cycle that is widely expected to see rates drop by a total of 125 BPS by the year end. The S&P 500 gained 1.70%, while the Nasdaq Composite gained 2.51%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose by 1.26%. President Joe Biden said that the Fed lowering interest rates is a signal the United States has entered a new phase of recovery, though stressing there remains more work to be done. Biden spoke at the Economic Club of Washington to summarize the U.S. response to the COVID-19 pandemic and a surge in inflation after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And on to some sports news now. In Chess Olympiad 2024, the Indian men's team scored yet another thumping victory over Iran to stake its claim for the gold medal in the open section on Thursday. D. Gukesh, Arjun Argaisi and Vidit Gujarati made light work of their Iranian counterparts, while R. Pragananda played his fifth draw on the bounce. The team registered victory with a massive 0.5 points in Budapest, Hungary on Thursday. The Indian men took their tally to 16 points out of a possible 16. However, the Indian women's team was handed a first loss by the Polish team after winning 6 consecutive rounds. India lost 1.5 to 2.5. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.